Welcome to Breakaway, the minor hockey podcast brought to you by the OMHA. I'm your host, Aaron Wilbur, founder of the Coaches Site. And as always, I am joined by Ian Taylor, the executive director of the OMHA. Ian, man, it's been a minute. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you. It's great to see you, Aaron. And we're getting near the end of the season. I wanted to share with you, I want to know how your your season and is it U7? Is it U7 team?
U7, yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear how that's going. But before that, I did want to tell you I was in a rink. I was at the rink a couple times in the last since the weekend. So on the weekend I was at the rink, and there was it would have been maybe U7 age group or that age group, and it was their gala day. So I just happened to be there, and this was going on, and kids were flying out of there with Sidney Crosby toques. I think it was like the Timbits and
Tim Hortons. Yeah, we got 7 of those in our house. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So
yeah.
But it's really it's amazing because I noticed the two kids are wearing them, they're running around, and I just thought that's a great, like, it's a great giveaway instead of a ribbon or something. I just thought that was because they'll wear this, right? Like, this is they've earned it, that sort of thing. So I thought that was cool. And then I was at the rink. So basically next week is March break here, right? So kids are off school next week. So this was hockey season for those kids wrapping up, just before March break. They had their gala day, big deal. So awesome. So that's been how many, 20 weeks or how many ever weeks hockey season is. And then I was at the rink the other night, and I ran into a guy, and it was a U14 AAA team, and they're in playoffs, and they're not going to move on. So they got 2 games left. They'll play that over the next week or so, So these little guys just finishing up their season. There's these guys that are kind of in the middle, I guess, but at the higher skill level playing AAA. But they've both played right through to March break or a little bit beyond. They've both had a full season. Nobody was eliminated in January, and you've heard me. I'm restating all of our reasons, in our player pathways.
This is what I want to get into you with most. I'll share my side of it.
So I'm thinking these were within like 2 days of each other, and it kind of framed it for me. And I'm thinking, so again, and we're going to talk about, what is success in minor hockey. And, so seeing this, and so we're not moving on, but it's been a good year, and we've had some U14 injuries. It's a funny age group, right? Kids are growing at different rates and all that sort of thing. So just
for sure.
but yeah, we've played through here. Then we'll have whether the team will continue to skate or have a few weeks off, and then, as we have tryouts in April. But there wasn't this huge gap, you know what I mean? Or there wasn't this I was eliminated here and had to find somewhere else to go access hockey. And whether we, whether we won a championship or not was not the definer or the defining moment in whether we had a successful year. So I'm interested to hear what you've got as well.
This is what I wanted to chat with you about because, 2 examples. So we've got, some of our staff coach minor hockey. And so I've shared this before with you and on the podcast that out here in the Pacific Coast Amateur Hockey Association, so that's the lower mainland of Vancouver, we have what's called the President's Series. So you start playoffs, so you play, either a single game elimination or a best 2 out of 3 series in round 2. And if you lose, you go to the President's Series.
Yeah.
And as soon as that happens, the commitment level of the parents, the kids, everybody drops. And so effectively for like 6 weeks, you're playing in what, if I'm being honest, is termed out here the toilet bowl.
Yeah, we had the same.
So that's not that's not fun. And And it's just parents are their kids aren't showing up. They're like, why are we driving to Chilliwack for an hour and a half for a game that doesn't matter? Yada yada. And so when I hear that, the way you guys or you decided to structure it out there makes just all kinds of sense. And then even this earlier this week, I was chatting with a coach in California, and he was saying that his team, like, they haven't played since the first weekend of February. Like, they didn't even get the toilet bowl. Their season just ended. So
Yeah,
now when you
done.
talk about like the money, the investment, et cetera, it's like, well, why do we pay the same, but our season ends like 6 weeks earlier than everybody else? So yeah, kudos to you, but just a little bit of evidence that just
Yeah.
there's never a perfect way. This is always a work in progress, but I would say that you guys have presented what I think positive progress looks like to anybody that's listening in the rest of the grassroots hockey community.
Well, and sometimes it happens, by accident, or again, part of it is our size, before, um, you'd have to start play downs. We called it, in January, and to get to two teams. Well, there's definitely more people playing longer, so that's a win. There's no question about it. And March break does seem to be kind of a natural, it's getting lighter
Yeah.
outside. We're going to turn the clocks back this weekend, right? You know what I mean? It kind of is a natural transition. So that's, I wanted to share that with you, just because again, it purely observation, and just two experiences seeing that happen. So yes, but I do want to know. So where's Ozzy's team, and what's happening?
Yeah, so we've had a super fun year. So they changed the rule where they combined U6 and U7 this year out here. And if I was being critical, like, it was rolled out like, gosh, like maybe a week before the season, and there wasn't a lot of communication on how to explain it to the parents, etc. However, just, we're in a unique situation because all our kids practice together. We have three teams. We just don't have the ice. So we've got like 48 5 and 6 year olds on the ice. So that's been a good learning experience for me as a
Yeah,
coach.
yeah, right.
But, you know, I will say this, like, and I think that a lot of folks, whether you're a parent or coach, will align with this. It's like, um, we play cross ice hockey, for example. We're on the same bench as the other team. It's little kids hockey. Our kids all think they're playing for the New York Rangers.
Yeah,
Like, they
sure they
really
do.
do. Like, they all think they're like they're as stoked for the game, and they take it as seriously as they would if we were playing, full ice, and the whole thing. Like, it's so that's been super fun. But the coolest thing we did is we went to this on Family Day weekend. We went to this tournament in Richmond where this complex, it's like there's a six pad rink, and beside that there's a laser tag, there's an indoor trampoline park, there's a bowling alley, there's a
Yes.
wave pool, there's an indoor thing, there's a movie theater. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's like they're surrounded by farm fields,
Yeah.
and then the other side there's a Holiday Inn Express. So basically, Squamish, where I'm from, we had four teams there. We basically took over the hotel. We had like a mini stick room rented out the whole time, and the kids just had so much fun. They
Hmm.
all pretty much needed to go to, like, detox afterwards from all
Yeah,
the fun
exactly.
and movies and
Yes.
crap here. But it was just,
Yeah.
I think it was a really good foray, and I think, like, what was really cool about it, you know what this is like we don't get a lot of chance. Like, I coach, so I'm on the bench or I'm on the ice, like, to mingle with the other parents and stuff like that. And again, like, when we're gonna hear our guest today, Dr. Jody Carrington, talk about this being in a small town, it's like we're gonna be with these families for the next, I don't know, like maybe 10 years, 8 years, I
Right.
don't know. But,
Hmm.
and it was just really fun to, build those connections. Our little guy Oz was just super pumped. And I think, it really just reinforced the community. And it's like, we could do anything with our weekends. We could go on a hike. We could sit and play video games. But, the fact that we get to spend it with some really cool people, and our kid gets to spend it with his buddies, like, that's a pretty good way to invest your time.
Amazing. Amazing. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
That's great. So it's been a great year.
It's been a great year. Although this is funny, you'll appreciate this. So I was in Vegas recently, and we work with the junior Golden Knights, and I got to see the Leafs play the Golden Knights, which was awesome. But
Nice.
anyway, so they gave me this little like care package, which was super kind of them. So I bring that home, and Aussies, they've got some souvenirs and stuff. But on the bag, it's got the Vegas Golden Knights and the Henderson Silver Knights, their American League team. So Aussie's like, "What team's that?" And so I'm like, it's like, how do you explain a farm team to a kid, 5-year-old, right? I'm like, oh, it's like it's their kids team. The kids have to go there and do their best. And then if they do their best, they get to go play with the big team. So now he's like, oh, so now it's like, we got to take 30 minutes and look at every NHL team's American League logo and jersey and evaluate how we feel about that. So he gets this concept. So we're driving home the other day and just from school. And he's like, hey dad, he's like, am I going to have to play on the kids team? And I'm like, Ozzy, you do play on the kids team. You're 5 years old. You play with other kids. He's like, no. He's like, when I'm older, am I going to have to play on the kids team? And I'm blanking. And then I'm like, oh, do you mean like the farm team? He's like, yeah. He goes like, because Connor David didn't have to play on the kids team. He just went right to the Blackhawks. He's like, do I get to go right to the Canucks, or am I going to have to play on their kids team when I'm older? Because he's just there's no doubt in his mind, because he sleeps with a Finn doll every night and he loves the Canucks to death, that this is inherently where his lot in life is gonna,
as it should be,
go.
as it
But it's
should
fun,
be.
right? It's so fun to see that
Yeah, amazing.
he's just really into it. So good times. Can I little segue here? Can we talk about
Go.
this hoodie that you guys sent me?
Yeah.
So I shout out to Mitch at the
Yep.
OMHA. He sent through these Hockey is Fun hoodie because I saw you guys wearing them. And so I wear this to the rink literally this last weekend. First time I just got them. We haven't taken it off.
Okay.
And the response that it got, like it was almost like in the most positive way possible. This hoodie, this slogan is a slap on the face to every adult in the rink. And like we're
Yes.
gonna get into our guest Jody
Yes.
King when she talks about lowering your shoulders, relaxing your jaw, letting your tongue fall from the top of your mouth. That's what this hoodie does for everybody. And I could just feel like it just steers people towards joy. And this is not hyperbole. Like my mission is I want Hockey is Fun painted in the lobby of our rink, and I want it in every dressing room I need to see it sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's so simple. It is the just do it of minor hockey. It really is.
Wow.
It's that impactful. So kudos to you and your team. But
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome, but then I wore it to the rink and I was like, man, this is a difference maker. This is awesome.
I love to hear the reaction, Aaron, and I'll tell you, it's it was simply, and I know we've talked about this, but it was us sitting around a meeting room, and we weren't aiming to come up with something. We were just talking about, well, why do we love it? We're trying to grow the game. We're trying to teach life lessons and all the stuff we talked about with Jody. So, but well, we love it because it's fun. Like it's that simple. And for you to get a like kind of these visceral responses from people, it's awesome. It confirms it for me. It affirms it for me. I love it. So I appreciate that.
No, listen, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Cool.
And you know what? I think really good timing just for the conversation we're going to have
It
today.
is.
So Dr. Jody Carrington is going to join us. And when I say I've been blessed, I mean that because I first got introduced to Jody through Hockey Alberta, who we work with. They hosted an event, it would have been 3 years ago, and she was the speaker. And this is a true story. So it's in this event's in Red Deer, Alberta. It was called the Hockey Summit. So they wanted to sort of bring all the associations together, share mostly technical resources, and really the goal was to sharpen the technical side of the game.
Yep.
And but there was this like sort of little gala, and it's in this big room, and we've got like a booth on the outside. There's a bar, and I had this is the weekend before we host our conference in Ann Arbor. So like it was busy. So I fly out there, go to this event, and I see that there's this child psychologist speaking. And admittedly, I'm like, well, this is going to be boring.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stick around as long as I am, but then I'm going to go, I'm going to go down to the bar, answer some emails and get ready to fly out the next morning. But I'm sitting around having a beer with a couple of the Hockey Alberta staff, and I'm like, I'll watch like the first 5 minutes. And Jody gets up, and people are about to experience this. She is a force of nature. She's the
Yes.
best public speaker, full stop, I've ever seen. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to stick around for this one. And so much of what she shares has impacted me as a husband, as a father, as how I work with my staff at work. And it's all in hindsight very commonsensical. But I think that just speaking as somebody that's in their 40s, at this stage of life, a lot of stuff's ingrained. Like, you just are the way you are.
Sure.
And it's really forced me to reevaluate and I think make some positive changes just in how I coach kids. And again, just deal people and honestly giving yourself a break when you need it as well, and recognizing that's okay. So I just can't, so happy she's here, and your audience, our audience, gets a chance to hear from her as well.
Yeah, and I mean, she's a doctor, right? She's obviously educated. She understands the um, you know the scientific side um, of kids and dealing with people in general, but it's her real life examples that drive it home for me, Aaron. I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, it isn't technobabble, doctor speak. It's as you say, common sense, and the examples the examples she uses and gave are one, I can picture it in my mind, so that's one, and two, takes me back to specific situations that I've dealt with when I was coaching, and probably in some cases you did okay handling them, but in other cases, boy, I wish, tell me more is something that will enter my vernacular now.
Oh, like,
Tell me more.
you know what I mean? And I think
Yeah.
that what I'd say is it's literally like these are like actual, while they're not physical tools, they're like actual tools that you can carry with you figuratively
Yes.
around with you. And I think that so much of like the situations, and I mean, I know what it's like, you go to like the course or whatever, and it's like, Tommy's dad might get upset. So you could, and it's like, no, that's not how actually the interaction goes. It goes exactly. And this is a long-winded way of Ian and I saying you're going to hear some language coming up because Jody, some might say that she speaks like a trucker, but I think she says it, she talks how the rest of us talk, and
Yeah.
and she calls out the conversations that we're a part of.
It's
But
real, right? It's
you know,
real.
no, it is real. And I
Yeah.
think that, but she also comes from it from a position that she does coach her own kids in minor hockey. And I think what was my favorite part about this conversation is we all got to maybe put some of our less flattering moments on the table and
Yeah.
acknowledge that
Yeah.
that's going to happen to everybody. And just like the 13-year-old ref that she describes, like, they're going to make mistakes, but they're 13
Hmm.
years old and we got to cut them some slack. We need to cut ourselves some slack. And I think all the adults that are involved in this, we have to understand that in the course of a season, we're not going to get everybody's A game all the time. And sometimes we got to say, like, hey, like, maybe Coach Ian, um, had a really stressful day at work and he was a human being and showed up and wasn't the same
Sure.
Ian coach that we get most of the time. But we'll let him come back and bring his A game the next practice, and that's okay. And because this is how I sort of view my experience working with Jody. I am convinced now that at any level you can have a season where you don't win one game and it can still be a success and still be a positive experience for your kids and
Right.
family. I'm convinced of that now. I wasn't convinced of that before. I would have said that was impossible. I'm convinced that that can happen now.
Right. Right. And totally. And that goes back to these teams I saw just in the last week, and we talk about that a little bit. So last thing I want to throw in there, Aaron, is I always think about when, and I shout out to the coaches site. You guys have the global skills showcase going on right now online. People go look at it. There's some great stuff. I was just talking to the guys about how they've captured the skills and the video. So it's really good. And I always think, and the reason I'm bringing that up is I always think when I watch those sessions, if I can just grab one or two things that I can use in a session tomorrow or next week, that's my goal. Like I just need one or two new things, right, that I can implement immediately. This talk with Jody, there's things that I will take and implement immediately. So it doesn't have to. And we talked about the technical, tactical. This is coaching is way more, way bigger, and so that's my takeaway. So that's brilliant.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny you say that and I appreciate you mentioning the Global Skills Showcase, but
yeah.
So coaches apply to speak at this, right? So we do, Justin and I, our producer, like we have a bunch of interviews, and one of the things that's really, really important to me is that they own whatever they're about to teach, and that doesn't mean like hockey. I mean, we're playing a game on frozen water, so like it's not like anybody's doing one thing exclusively. If you follow me,
right.
You want to know that it's like they didn't just the idea that they're pitching you isn't something they just stole from somebody else online and. Like, is it their own? And is the way they teach it their own? And so a lot of the questions we ask is their approach. And I'll tell you what, like the one thing that stands out to me, all these coaches, as talented as they are as development coaches and having the skill set to really break down the skills, every one of them kept coming back to it was more about how they communicated with their athletes.
Yes. Right.
Like that was all of them acknowledged, organically just in the interview process that like all the technical stuff they did, you could throw it out the window if they didn't invest time in learning how they could better connect with their players, make them feel safe, make them know it's okay to make mistakes, let them know that they cared about them more as people, that they like in some cases, like they literally like have it scheduled. They create like to create the space to have conversations with their athletes about stuff other than hockey. Like they were so intentional about it. And that impresses me so much. And I think there's just a lot we could, a lot to take away there.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, no, it's awesome. And for me personally, I've said it on more than one of our pods is just taking the blinders off from just the technical tactical, which we love, right? Like we love, but 100%. Just so much more, just, taking the blinders off and again, it is about communication and it's about relationships and language, as you said, how they say it. Right. So anyway, that's, and the real examples Jody uses, I certainly, pushes that home for that. So that was the first time I had spoken with her. Right. So, just some awesome takeaways. So I appreciate this. This is a great guest, Aaron.
Oh no, man. Like I said, any excuse to chat with her. Like I said, she's had a huge and profound impact on myself personally. And just as we talk about this, what we're going to do? I sense there's going to be a lot of people that listen to this and they're going to want to maybe hear more. Jody gave a keynote at our conference last year. It's up on our website. You need a subscription to watch it, but we'll align with the release of this episode and let the audience know that you can go in, you can create a free user account on the coach's site, and we'll release that to the public for a week or so people can check it out if they want to. Because I just think what she shares today, what she shares in that talk, it's honestly, like I've said this to so many people. I'm like, the first coaching clinic that everybody goes to should go spend an hour in a room with Jody Carrington. Like that should be the first coaching clinic that everybody goes to, if before they jump in the deep end. So again, we're really excited to be joined by Dr. Jody Carrington. She's a child psychologist. She is an author. Can't recommend her books enough, particularly Teachers These Days. It's excellent. Her latest release, Feeling Seen, is also worth checking out. But she's a speaker. And I think more than anything, she's somebody that really cares about her game and wants to see all of us have a great experience. So we will be right back with Dr. Jody Carrington. We are back with Dr. Jody Carrington, a psychologist, author, speaker. Jody, so good to see you.
Aaron, I have missed your face, and hockey talk is my favorite thing to do these days. So let's dive in. I'm so excited. And we got Ian Taylor, the god of Ontario hockey. I can't, listen, I got way more questions than answers today. I'll tell you, fellas.
Well, we'll kick things off with one question. So I know that not only what we didn't include in your bio is that you're also a coach. So maybe just give us we're nearing the 18th hole of the season. How's your season gone from a coaching perspective?
Okay, so I got to tell you, we before we went live, I just said I've never seen such assholery-ish people in the history of the world, and so you can title this podcast "How to Deal with Assholery-ish People." But I think that our daughter's team is going for the banner. This is the first year she's played on an all-female hockey team, and of course, we're all going to the PWHL, including me, and because I've never been more excited about women in sport. And our son, who is going to go to the NHL, he's very clear. Potentially through the NCAA or the WHL, he's not sure, but I'm very confident he's not going to make it out of Olds Minor hockey, but I won't tell him that yet. We lost out in the first round, so there was significant tears. And
that's all the coach's fault, by the way, too. When that doesn't happen, it's the coach's fault.
And I was very clear with all of them, sat them all down and said, thanks for fucking nothing. Okay. Do you know the potential on this team? How have you not developed this group of players? No, I did not say any of that. I was like, when's the parent wrap up party?
I'm gonna pass it off to Ian here, but I thought this was maybe a good jumping off point. I know that, in any given month, you're talking to a variety of folks, organizations, etc., about connection, whether that's in the workplace, at home. We're here today to talk about youth sports. Why is youth hockey a great vehicle for kids to build real connections?
Listen, fellas, I got to tell you, the work, Ian, that you're doing is holy in so many ways. We have never seen kids this disconnected. So as a child psychologist, I've assessed and treated over 1,000 kids in this country. And I have never, not one time, met a bad kid. Not one time. And the only way a kid knows that they matter is face-to-face connection with another adult, another human being who is preferably emotionally regulated, which means not losing their friggin' mind. Because you can't tell somebody how to be great, you have to show them. And when we look at the data, people often talk to me about a mental health crisis, and I speak globally around a mental health crisis. What I am most concerned about in our own country is something that Vivek Murthy, who is the Surgeon General out of the United States of America, has been referring to as a loneliness epidemic. 64% of all kids would say that on any given day, they feel remarkably lonely. And us first generation of parents with this much access to social media, that doesn't make sense because we think they're always on the devices. We think that they're always snapping and connecting to their friends and they never want to get off. But here's what you will never automate: relationship. And you can't play minor hockey on a screen. You have to come to the rink. You have to interact. You have to figure out how to lose and how to win and how to get cut and how to get benched. And all of those things are critical because so many of us just want our kids to be happy. When I ask any parent to finish the sentence, I say, tell me your biggest wish for your baby. And so many people say this to me, I just want them to be happy, which I think is such bullshit because nobody's happy all the time. Right? We don't wake up this morning and just like, wow, I'm so happy with this 48-year-old Ukrainian chassis. This is what I hoped she'd look like. And I'm so happy with the fella I married. I had a lot of choices in 2009. Anyway, I tried to marry a Sutter, by the way, P.S., because I grew up in Viking, Alberta, Canada, and I had 7 shots of that shit and I couldn't nail it down. But anyway, I digress. So why this becomes critical is it is often the church of our communities. It's the church of our parents' generation. This is where parents come to have social relationships. This is where kids learn the important lessons of inclusion and exclusion and how to handle it when a ref makes a shitty call. And you know who's more important to me than anybody on the planet? in this moment? The big people. Because if the coaches aren't okay, the kids don't stand a chance. And we spend a lot of time investing in the kids and are they okay and are they not. I mean, kids are all right. But in this first generation, as we navigate to this very online world that none of us have a script for, our biggest investment will be in the big people. If they can hold their shit together, our kids will too. Full stop.
Wow. Wow. So I want to jump off, and maybe Aaron, I'll kind of back chain this a little bit. I would say in the past, when Aaron and I had conversations, we would talk about coaching a lot. Obviously, that's you know
That's his
that's
thing.
where Aaron lives, right? But the coaching would be, you know, developing skills, how to get out of our end effectively. I'm thinking of all the different speakers we've had here, and developing your shooting skills with Tim Turk or something like that, right?
Yeah.
It was technical, tactical, right? And then COVID comes along, Jody, and for the first time, Aaron, on these chats on our pod here, we talked about mental well-being. For the first time, we talked about that side because kids were missing what you're talking about. The inclusion, the involvement, the dressing room, the social, the what have you. And so this is here's two of us who have been involved in this our whole life. We have our kids involved in it, and that was the first time we were talking about exactly what you just said. So, like, talk about taking the blinders off, you know. So now we're a couple of years removed from this. We have continued to talk about it, and that's why it's so important. You're with us. So one of the things we have talked about is defining success in minor hockey. So we just talked about we're at the end of the year. We're talking about our championships are about to we're the next month we're going to be championships every weekend.
All in, yeah.
Right. You said your daughter's up, going for a banner. So we're talking about success. Are we going to win? Are we going to move on? Are we going to get we have red hats when you win? But what is success in minor hockey for everybody, for the player, for the coach, for mom and dad? How do we define that?
I'll tell you, I asked my babies. So the twins, our twins are 11 and our oldest is 13. He quit minor hockey this year. And it wasn't because the coach wasn't technically sound enough.
Right.
It wasn't because he didn't get to learn how to shoot his wrist shot well enough. And when I asked my twins, on separate teams, who is your favorite hockey coach? Tell me. And they right away were like, it's this guy. It's this guy. Tell me. Well, okay. Well, why? I mean, that was your coach back in U7. Why is that guy your favorite coach? Do you want to know why, Mom? Because he brought snacks at the end of every practice. Listen, the bar is so low right now. What I want, when I think about success for a kid, we know that 0.026% of kids will make any sort of college level sport, let alone any professional level sport.
Right.
Okay? So the opportunity for your baby to get out of even a minor hockey association is so low. I want every parent to have the dream. I want every kid to have the dream. That is a big driver for so many of us, right? I never want you to sort of deflate this. We're not doing this for nothing. But the point is, I want there to be a joy at the end of the season. I want there to already be talking about next season. That is such an indicator of success for me. And historically, we've put such a big emphasis on, are we getting the banner? Are we doing this? I mean, Evan's team, my youngest, my boy twin, of course, didn't make it out of the first round. The best lessons he's ever learned in hockey were this season. And he cannot wait. Season's over, and he's shooting pucks every morning from 7 to 7:15 in our backyard. That's my definition of success. He loved it. Cannot wait for next. What are we going to do next, Mom? Who do you think the coach is going to be next? What do you think? I love that. And I think this is the interesting thing. I saw this quote once about when kids love something, it becomes so easy. That's how you define passion, right? Is if I think about how much it took me to get our 13-year-old just to go to practice, right? It was like, come on, you are not letting your team down. Let's go. And there would be tears. And the dressing room moment.
You committed to it and see it through.
We are not quitters.
Yes.
We're from Viking. We are not quitters. Okay. Try harder. And I believe that to be true. I really don't think listen, this is my number one message of today. Every kid does not deserve a fucking medal. If you play in a Thornhill hockey tournament, there are 9 teams and you lose all 8 games, you shouldn't get a medal. Somebody should sit you down and be like, you know what, you suck, bud. You're maybe we should try Burlington next year. You know what I mean? Like, your goalie's a sieve. No, you shouldn't say that. I'm a child psychologist too. But the idea is our babies need an experience, a script for futility. They need to know what it feels like to lose. They need to know what it feels like to have a bad reffing call. They need to know that when we have 13-year-old refs who don't know what they're doing and they're scared, that they don't have a group of parents in the stands losing their minds. Not one time in the history of minor hockey has a parent who yelled, "Skate harder," resulted in a fucking breakaway. Also, it's never when a parent is screaming at a ref, the ref goes, "Oh shit, you're right. Sorry, Mr. Gibson. I missed that one. Let me try to get." Generally speaking, everybody's shoulders go up and we lose access to the best parts of us. And Aaron and I have talked a lot about this in terms of skill development. And, even when we were at the Coaches Site conference in Ann Arbor, the importance of getting technical advice is always important. And oftentimes that's what minor hockey coaches bring. They played minor, they played junior, they played whatever, and they really, want their kids to have that experience. And what we miss on benches across this country is somebody who's a regulating other. Somebody who can say, "Come here, look at my eyes. Come here. Ba, 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 ba. It's okay. Come here. Let's get a drink of water, sweetheart." Because you can practice your wrist shot 97 times. You can have your breakout drill down to a fraction of a second. And if you get pissed off, if somebody dysregulates you, you lose access to all you've ever done. So the most critical intervention on any bench, the NHL has not even, the PWHL is better at this, but there's no thought even yet in the bigs to be able to walk kids home. Ram Dass, he's a dead guy. He said this quote that I shared with Aaron's group the last time. He said, this is what defines everything that I do. He said, "We are all just here walking each other home." And if you get a coach that understands the importance of just walking a baby home, nobody gets out of here alive. Very few of us, get out of a minor hockey association, go on to the next level. We're just walking these kids through this game, right? And I think that, my favorite quote of one of my coaches, he said, "You should see how fast I can get a kid to skate when I know the name of their dog."
It's amazing.
That's good,
yeah.
right?
No,
Yeah.
so true. And I'll go back to, you mentioned your son outside shooting pucks and just, that passion. And I think what you said about kind of year-end success is so true. And I know in my experience running an association at this time of year, there's 2 sets. There's the families and the coach that the season can't end quick enough. And I've seen that when their team's the best team. But then there's other teams where they're like, they're crying at the year-end party.
Yes.
Because they're so devastated they're going to lose this community. And I don't think that's dependent on winning either. In fact, I know it's not. So I think that's a great way to frame it. But it's just funny. You talk about, that sort of intrinsic passion. So we've talked about today's International Women's Day. So last night, my wife goes with her girlfriends to the ballet. And so this morning we're catching up over coffee. And I said, how was the ballet? And she's just beams, and she loves dance. She did it as a little girl. She has the same passion today that she did when she was, actively participating in it. And it just kind of, the dots connect where it's like, that's really the goal here. And it doesn't have to be hockey, but like at this stage, like, it's just let your kids find something that they're going to, when they're 42. Sorry, Christina. That they're going to have that same amount of passion, whether they're watching it, playing it, whatever, because that's just it's that same community she had as a kid. She has it today, and it's awesome.
So Ian, what do you think? I mean, and I truly have a question about this. Like, what do you think gets in the way when, we continue now to have these conversations about, we have access to sort of really passionate people who want to just, be on the bench with their kid, want to see their team win, want to do those things. When you see the difference between a team that doesn't want to leave each other at the end or a team that does, do you think there's a secret ingredient in there? Like, what does it seem to be?
It's a great question. And I'm thinking right now of again your example of your son's favorite coach, and everyone wants to win, but to your point of enjoying going to the rink, enjoy being around your teammates. I've learned something. I'm leaving here with skills I didn't have before. Like, I just think of all these positive things. I can tell you, my eldest son coaches junior hockey, and they're having a really good season. And it's interesting. He said to me, he said it's been such an enjoyable year, and they have good players. They have some really good players, yeah. But he said he goes, I enjoy being around them. And he goes, I get energy from them. So they love being at the rink. They love being together. In fact, almost to the point where they got to kind of shoo them out of the rink. Like it's a long year,
Oh, lovely.
And so interestingly, and I don't want to give anything away. They're about to go in the playoffs, but they had a really strong. They actually had a stronger away record through the first half of the season than they did at home. So their away record was better than at home, and they have great support at home. People love the team and what they represent in the community. So the coaches ask these kids why? What's the deal? They're like, they like going into the other team's building. They like it being us against them, to the point where they like being the bad guys. So there's an identity there. So and it kind of ramps them all up. And so the coaches are listening to this, trying to say, well, how do we bottle this? How do we bottle this at home as well? But it was just really, so he's just telling me this story on, we catch up, a couple times a week. And so I just think of that, like the relationship between the players have with each other, the relationship they have, the coaches have with the players. But then ultimately I'm thinking, and this is new. I think the coaches are learning from the players, it's not just the other way. It's not one-way learning. I guess that's the way to say it.
No, and sorry, yeah, I just want to jump in here. When I hear that, I think the fact that they had a relationship with the players where they asked a question and it was like, no, like I really care about the answer. Like your opinion matters to me, and you're gonna have feedback. Yeah, like
sure,
that lesson that applies to the 5 and 6 year olds I coach, and just in making them feel like, hey, you matter in this whole thing.
Can I tell you? I think so. In everything that you're saying, here's the thing that I think it boils down to. Okay. This is the definition of any good leader, I think, that we can really start to operationalize in this season of, being disconnected and overwhelmed. If you think about this, we're the first time in history we've never had this much access to data. We don't get a break. Okay.
Right.
So our kids could get us anytime. Our many of us do volunteer work, but the parents can get us anytime. We got Team Snap on everything. We can, you wake up to the morning to 3 Team Snap messages and you're like, for fuck's sake.
I had 114 Team Snap messages this morning, and that is not a lie at all.
Jesus Christ. And so think about what that does to our cortisol as parents, right? Like my dad, who threw me on a minor hockey team, like we knew practice was Tuesday and we had a game Saturday. Cool. No Nobody talked to anybody between those times. And so we'd show up at the rink and be like, let's go. Oh my God, your kid's a bitch. Okay, let's talk about it. Like, we'd figure that out. You think about what happens to our bodies constantly like this. And as a coach, even a minor, like a volunteer coach, like I hear my husband, who also coaches, say things like, fuck, that's not what I meant. God, like,
Yeah,
does he
sure.
really think that's what I did? So if I think about, we never get a break. So we step into the rink like this, our shoulders up, our cortisol high, like never before, with a bunch of dysregulated kids who've never been this dysregulated before. I will tell you, I think the number one predictor of a successful coach moving forward will be your capacity to regulate emotion in times of distress, to stay calm when shit starts to go awry, when the parents
Right.
start to question, because they will, when the kids start to push back, because they should, when the ref makes a bad call, because it is inevitable. It is not about sort of getting this Mary Poppins experience. It's the road that you get there means, I'm going to guess your son is somebody who says, come here, tell me more. Those are the three words that save my ass every time. Tell me more. What am I missing? Right? You have a parent that says, this is bullshit. You bet I pay the same minor hockey fees as Grayson's parents, and you're going to bench my kid for 5 minutes. And you know what we tend to do? Okay, you know what? Fine. You're not happy with this? Are you kidding me? It's a volunteer. Both get emotionally dysregulated. Huh? What I need is somebody to be able to say this. Tell me more. What am I missing? Well, I just like, he comes home and he feels like he's like not important to the team. Oh, buddy, thank you so much for telling me that, because that is certainly not the truth. But I need to know those things. Is it okay if I have a chat with him? I want to explain the philosophy behind those things, right? And I think your capacity, now think about who we attract in minor sport, right? These are typically middle-aged white guys who like are really, we grew up in a hockey where you just like fucking fight your way out of it. You know what? I'll bag skate your ass if you're being a dick. Okay, cool. Which there's room for that. However, our kids in this generation have never felt so unseen. That is the difference between one generation and their. So there needs to be a switch in understanding how we collect them first and then direct. Because one of the most dangerous phrases on International Women's Day, Grace Murray Hopper, who's one of my heroes, one of the first female admirals in the US Navy, she said, the most dangerous phrase in the English language is this: it's always been done this way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Okay?
so hearing you say that, I mean, and again, Aaron, we've talked about that, but again, we've talked about it in how you set up your practice. We've talked about it in, you're not going to bag skate. If you want to do something, ice costs, so many hundreds of dollars. We can do conditioning off ice. And it's not going to be punishment, so we talk about that stuff, right? But to your point about talking, talking to the athletes, empowering them, and I just saw this. I want to say it might have been a month ago. I saw a clip from John Tortorella, and if John Tortorella is the definition of old school, right? Old school guy, and
But behind
I would
the
often think,
scenes is a sweetheart.
okay.
Behind the scenes.
Sure. So
Okay.
it's so interesting. It's so interesting you say that, because my impression is that's we don't want guys emulating John Tortorella because it is always the way we've been done, right? But I saw this clip and he talked about dealing with the athlete today, and he said everything was coaches want everything to be so structured and if you step out of that, you're going to get it. And he said, now he goes, there's a lot of times he just looks down to the other end of the bench and doesn't say anything, like his I guess his latitude, or there's still expectations and there's still accountability, but he's recognizing, he's saying, this is today's athlete. And so when I hear John Tortorella say, he's recognizing the difference in today's athlete, and he's changing. And again, he's not saying everything I'm not anymore. He has the same standards, but he's applying them or acting on them in a different way. I was blown away.
When you're not, absolutely, when you're not yelling, you're not being soft, right? Like
Right.
I would
Yeah.
really just love to scream that from the fucking rooftops. There's not we're not making these kids soft. They're not a bunch of babies. They're not a bunch of whatever. These kids have more promise today than we ever had in our days. They're more inclusive and open, and they have conversations around our kitchen. My babies have taught me more. My like redneck, white, straight, able-bodied husband has had more teaching from our children
Right.
than anybody could have ever happened in their lifetime, right? And so if we get into this place understanding that you cannot, in this season more than ever, take away enough stuff from a kid to make them produce, we will start understanding, because they come to our dressing room in the middle of a divorce. They come to our dressing room with a plan to end their lives. 1 in 4. 1 in 4 over the age of 13, according to Kids Help Phone data, has a plan to end their lives. This is not about hockey skill anymore. If you know that as a coach, I am stepping in because it's my honor to be face to face with my son's friends and my baby boy to do the very best I can to walk them through one of the most difficult times of their life. And if hockey can bring some joy, if we can belly laugh, if I can hit the gritty in the dressing room and make them all shit themselves laughing, if I can come in and bring some Tim Hortons donuts and be like, let's have a farting contest, fellas, let's like listen, let those are the things that shape humans to understand the most vulnerable emotion on the planet is joy. It isn't shame or fear. You are in your most vulnerable when you're joy. And as a coach, if you can reflect on how many times you belly laughed on that bench, how many times the dressing room felt good, it doesn't mean that after a shitty, poorly performed practice or game that you're not like, look at me.
Right.
Not okay. Because we also need those take charge moments. If kids just feel like they can run the fucking show, biggest mistake. But we're really in this switch of understanding it. Like, do I either I go hard on them and bag skate them, or I'm soft? And
Right.
I know I don't want to be soft. I hear I don't need to be this guy, but what do you do in the middle? And I would say, here's the thing that makes the most sense for me. I want you to think about it like this: collect before you direct. Collect before you direct. Think about ways that you're giving him the wondering about how his dog is feeling, what's going on with his girlfriend or boyfriend, what's happening here, what's going on here. And then, like, you know what I need from you, Grayson? Come here. I would say something like this: Macy, you had the best shot yesterday I've ever seen. I know, I can see you're working on it at home. Hey, kiddo, come here. Here's the thing I'm not so happy about. When we were driving on the bus yesterday, I heard you and Grayson and Kaysen and Layson and Mason talking about, I don't know, begging that chick, doing that. Here's what I need you to know, honey. You have so much potential on this team. You're a leader. Anything you put on Snapchat these days is going to follow you for your life.
Right.
Number 2, we do not speak about women like that in this dressing room. I have a daughter. You have 2 sisters. Not okay. The importance of coaches these days is we are creating neural pathways for these kids to lean on in a world where they have very few adults who care. Very few, not care, that's a wrong word, have the capacity to be face to face, because we're overwhelmed as parents. It doesn't mean you have to be a parent. It means you are one more in the village that has become important now more than ever. Don't ever underestimate your ability to not only change a life, but save it these days. And it simply is just by showing up, just by being silly, just by putting up with the most life-sucking Caillou on your team and being able to be like, buddy, that was great today. That's it. That's it. That is it. And so it just becomes so much more than sport to me. And I wish those coaches who lose sleep over other people's babies, who write plans at 3 a.m, who give their heart and soul and get very little recognition or acknowledgement other than, why the fuck did you bench my kid? I want you to know just how grateful, how holy this work is, because these kids will think about you 10 times more than you think about them for the rest of their days.
I do want to get into some of the tactical stuff though, Jody, because I've had the fortune that we've known each other for a couple of years now. You've spoken at our event. I've seen you speak at other events, and and I'm not just saying this. Like, I coach my little guys U7 program here in Squamish, most fun I've had coaching.
Fun.
But when I look at the basics of it, and again, this all sounds obvious in hindsight, but I mean, you've talked to me about the power of eye contact, and not just eye contact, like getting down at their level and making eye contact. If you ask any of our little kids, they would say the number one rule in our program is eye contact. We talk about it in drills with each other. We do it all the time. It's religious. Every station we go to the coaches, it's our thing. Like, and it is. I can just tell you the results of that of being proactive. Um, it makes such a huge difference. The second thing you talk about, I might screw this up, and I apologize if I do. The light up moment. This has been so impactful for me, not just in coaching, but in my home life, in my workplace, that when you see somebody and I, again, Jody, happy to let you explain it, but my interpretation is when a kid comes in the dressing room, that first interaction you have with them, the energy they get from you, that sets the table for the day. And I'm so mindful of that now. And it's not like a production. It's just like, say, hey, Johnny, what's up, man? Great to see you. That 2 seconds. And I would say that makes all the difference. And the third thing, you talk about the donuts. It's just me being mindful that some of these kids are motivated to score a goal. We have a family on our team that owns the Sunflower Bakery in town. I've eaten so many goddamn donuts this year. It's not even funny. But I know that some kids, like that's what's getting them juiced up, is that there's going to probably be a donut at the end of the day. And knowing the difference of what's motivating the kids, and I would say those three things, have set the table for us having a really great year. And that's all because of you. But again, obvious in hindsight, but man, just having that top of mind is everything.
Oh, I love that, Aaron. And I think, to that point, I think what's really interesting is, like, as a coach, I want you, generally we're screaming from our jobs. We're coming in. I mean, I had a teacher coach the other day. He was out on the ice in a leather jacket. And I was like, hey, are you stepping up the game here? He's like, no, fuck, I left school. I forgot that I only had my skates in my bag. So he's out like coaching in a leather jacket. And I was like, woo, you're looking good today. Like, I think what's so critical is just how much it takes to transition from what we give in our outside world to then step into a dressing room full of kids that often need so much. And I think just giving yourself some grace between that transition, if you can just take a breath before you step into the dressing room, if you can just understand, like, your only job in so many of these moments, the bar is really low, is just to show up. And I think the truth about it is there's two kinds of kids that I think about. There's the flat Stanleys, and then the Cailloux, I call them, or the really needy, big emotion kids that are always like, hey, 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 hey. And they both have the exact same needs. But the flat ones also need you to go low and go slow. They don't respond well to that. Whoa, you're here. Oh my God, high five. But they also need the nod, the tap on the shoulder, on the bench, the good job, kid. They don't respond. The Cailloux, on the other hand, the big, loud, can I go first? Can I go first? They're doing snow angels. I can't fill up my water bottle. Those are the ones we tend to avoid. But those are the ones that need to be beat to the punch, right? Those are the ones where the light up becomes even more important, right? We try to avoid them because they're like, fuck, don't make eye contact, because now they're going to want something. But I would say, I watched this year where people are like, leave them to tie their own skates. These kids can tie their own skates. They can be independent. Let them, they need to figure it out. One of the most important moments before you put a kid on the ice is tying their skates, because you are down on their level. You can look them in the eye. You can really get a sense. Is this kid okay? I know he just transitioned from dads to moms yesterday. I wonder if this dude had breakfast, right? You can have that conversation about, right? So I'm not saying that like junior AAA people should be tying their skates. I think this would be great, actually. I'd be like, okay, you guys, I want you to all tie your 18-year-old skates. But that's the point. Don't rush that too much with your little guys, because that's an important moment. They will eventually learn to do that themselves. You don't need to get them there, right? And number two, I would say the importance of, you're just right, sitting down at the end of the game on the bench, in the dressing room. When you're on the same level and you have eye contact, what happens to your cortisol is it drops and your prefrontal cortex comes into play, which means everything you say to me, I'm going to be able to process. If you lowered over me, what were you thinking? You may be right. I might have just cost the whole season, but that conversation will not resonate in my body because my lid is flipped. I'm neurologically not present. And so, although it might be important for you or you can't control that, the biggest concept I hope we understand, like that I would love to the world to know, is really the importance of this neurological process where you collect the prefrontal cortex. It doesn't mean you're condoning or supporting or letting them get away with anything. You're getting them back in a place to listen. And the prerequisite for that is you have to be there first.
Wow.
I love the comment about
Wow.
the skates, and I'm calling myself out here. So this like happened like literally like on the weekend. My son is like, he's like, Dad, next year, can I have a hockey bag with wheels on it? And I'm like, I'm saying this in front of my wife. I'm like, there's no chance, because in my mind, I'm like, men don't have wheels on their hockey bag. Men carry their own hockey bag. He's 5. And my wife looks at me and she's like, hey, your little man is going to go home and watch Sheriff Labrador. Like, I think he can handle wheels on his hockey bag for a couple of years. Like, you need to just tone it down. And I had one of those moments where I'm like, okay, yeah, she's right. This is really dumb.
Listen, the biases are deep, and I think
yeah, they are. Like right away, I'm like, you can't have wheels on your hockey bag, and she's just like, are you serious? Like, of course you
can't
can.
address what you don't acknowledge, and I love that about you, Aaron. I think that's what makes this whole coach's site experience so successful, is that you are leading by example. We're gonna fuck it up. We're gonna yell. We're gonna do all these things. That's not the problem. It's what we do with it when it happens. How do you repair? How do you bring the players back in? I'll give you an example. This is like U7, okay? And we're gonna fucking win, fellas. Like, look at my eyes. Come on, everybody. Give me your best. And they called, I'm working the door and a kid can't get in. So I got one by the scruff of the neck. I'm putting the other one out. And this ref calls too many men. U7. What the? I flip my lid. I slam the thing. I yell at him. What are you? 13? Come on. And the kids are all like kind of crying. And I was like, you know what? Like I came back in the dressing room and I was like, hey, team, sorry. And there was a knock at the door. And they said, Jody, we just want to tell you that the ref's actually not going to come out for the second period. Because they actually are 13 and they're scared of you. And I was like, you're welcome. The local child psychologist. Okay. So I said to the team, I'm going to go speak to the ref real quick. Okay. Everybody get a snack. You get your things. You listen to Coach Jay. I'll be right back. I go down to the coach's or the ref's room. I knock on the door and he opens the door. Well, you can't be in here. I said, listen, I just want to tell you something. I am so sorry. You are absolutely right. That was completely and utterly my fault. And I'm so sorry. You were doing a heck of a job out there. I got frustrated because I had 2 kids that I was trying not to hurt their legs. And I took it out on you. Would you forgive me? And I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind, can I bring you into my dressing room so I can apologize to you in front of our team? Because I want them to see that this isn't how coaches should speak to refs.
Yeah. I
know you're doing a good job. So we did that. And it was the most sort of like, moment for these kids and humbling to me, because I didn't like, we all are going to do those things. It's not about avoiding those conversations. None of us are good at this stuff. But what we do after becomes so critically important, because you can't tell a kid how to be kind. You have to show them. You can't tell them how to apologize. Yeah. They don't come with a script for apologies or empathy. You have to demonstrate that. And some of those, those moments become so critical.
I'm gonna up you here, Aaron, just so you know, because you just reminded me of one thing. I was coaching. We had tryouts, and people would come into the rink, and they'd go to the table, and man, I don't know how old these kids were, 9, and so I was evaluating before they came to the ice, right? I was seeing whose mom was carrying their bag, because that was, that was a mark on the sheet. Like, what kind of nutcase am I? Like, you made me just think of that. I was looking at who was carrying their own bag.
Oh, you tyrant, Ian! You tyrant! This whole time we've been friends. I didn't know.
I'm telling you. It's the stuff you're making me remember. And I'm gonna throw you another one. I'm gonna throw another one at you. And this would have been my older son's age group when they were probably about 12. So, a player would be that player would be 34 years old today. Oh, boy. So I remember one time he was coming, and it's the same kid. I remember one time he was coming off the ice, and whatever had happened, and I was just about to, he could, like, I was loading up, and he just looked at me and goes, "I know." And I didn't have to say anything. And you know what? And I'm there thinking, oh man, I've coached this so well that I just have to look at him and he knows. And but really what he was telling me was, I know, get off my back. I don't want to hear you. Right?
Yeah,
so
totally.
So who's coaching who here? You know what I'm saying? So
I love that.
These situations, it's I mean, time gives a little bit of clarity. But you did, Jody, you did say, like, you are racing home from work. Your boss yelled at you. You come into the rink. You got a game tomorrow. You're getting the eyeballs, from people as you're coming in 5 minutes before practice. That is a tough situation. And like you said, and you're a volunteer. So taking that breath or time out, or like that's tough. It's tough. And we're human. Like, we're fallible, right?
Yes.
So
yes. And I think, sorry, go ahead.
Well, just like, but we're jumping on the ice in 2 minutes, and we got to be ready, and and I don't have that time to, or how do we do that? I guess is there a reset? Is there a, I don't know. Is there a count to 10? I don't know. Like what can we do in those situations, or how, or what can we arm our coaches with, to remind themselves, hey, again, and again, it's not just it's just a game. Sure, it's something, what's the saying? Sports is something we get to care passionately about that doesn't really matter, right? Like, but it does matter, because that's why we're all there at 5 o'clock, rushing home from work.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. It's so important. I think that, one of the greatest sort of pieces of being able to regulate our own emotions, and think about this outside of hockey, right? Here's the number one key for me, is it always comes down to your shoulders. So I have a little note all the time, like on my bathroom mirror, in my car, in my phone, that just says, drop your shoulders. Wow. Because if you're listening to this right now, I mean, do this in this moment. Drop your shoulders, relax your jaw, drop your tongue from the roof of your mouth, and wiggle your toes. That is where you have access to the best parts of you. How to make the best play, how to have the best conversation for a kid. We will lose access to that when this happens. And sometimes just walking into the rink before anybody says anything,
right,
depending on the team or the parents, yes, or whatever experience we've had with this sport, even before we coached this team, it was like, what does this mean? We all have some traumas, I think, that happened to us in this sport. So it's like, this happens, and I want you just to start to be aware of getting that down, coming in, knowing that, I mean, give them the best you can with what you got on any given day. It's going to be more than enough, right? What you're doing is really important stuff. And so do that, and know that, from that place, when we have a complaint or a pushback or a wondering about things, which will probably happen in the opinion of the place of public opinion. And I think some of that is got to be okay, because it's so much bigger than you. It's so much bigger than you. There's divorces and abuse and poverty and all of those things that are coming into a dressing room that sometimes is not your responsibility to hold. So when you can just take a deep breath and give it right on back, and I'm glad you're here, tell me more, and you do the best you can and send them off.
Yeah. It's awesome.
I want to build on that, because again, obviously I'm really familiar with Jody's work, but so is our staff. So this is a true story. So Jody, you talk a lot about flipping your lid, and I love how you asked this question, Ian, because I think what you described there, like those moments and how we handle those stressful moments, that either keeps the season on track or it sends it off.
Absolutely.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So Jody talked about flipping your, keeping your lid closed. So like in our office, and it probably gets directed at me more than anybody else, when you can sense those situations are going to happen, or somebody's little like one of our staff just be like, hey, like, close your lid or watch your lid. And it's just a
Yes,
cue for
yes.
everybody. It just right away, and you're like, oh yeah, okay. Like they're like somebody. And I would just say that, again, whether it's a marriage or just a bunch of volunteer parents, like having that dialogue to say, acknowledge and say, hey, when shit goes sideways this year, we just got to work with, I don't care if it's flip your lid, have a code word, whatever, but say that thing where say, hey, bring it down and it's going to be okay. And we all recognize this is stressful, but it's not the end of the world. Let's get through it. And it just, game changer. 100%.
Amen. And I think that's the point, we often talk about, particularly in our minor hockey teams, the importance of that parent connection. And, people are like, I'm just here to coach sports or coach hockey. Then I like, with all due respect, I got to say, then get out. Because if you don't have any relationship with the parents, you will struggle with the kids, because the division of loyalty will always fall home. And if there is an issue there that becomes irreparable, then it will affect the team. And because if I get into the car at the end of the day and, the dad is like, that fucking asshole, you don't have to listen to him. It doesn't matter how hard I try. So part of the important conversation then is one-on-one. What am I missing, Al? Right? What can I be doing better? What can I be doing different here? And people are hard to hate close up. And so oftentimes now with email and text and Team Snap, man, stuff gets said that gets taken out of the context, that gets all of those things. And I think I would just tell you, when kids can watch you have one-on-one conversations, when dad can say, actually, I told you Coach Aaron was an asshole there, but I got to tell you, we went for coffee last night and he sort of, he told me that this is kind of what he was thinking. And you know what, buddy, I like his ideas, so you think about like, that's how men repair things, or that's how women connect to each other, or that's how, even in the dressing room, I remember, my husband had to pull apart two kids on a bench once, and on the same team, and dad came at the middle of and said, don't you ever fucking touch my son. Right. And of course, then it's like, the first reaction is like, like, I'm out. Are you kidding me? Like, they were throat punching each other. Like I was trying, and then you get like this, right? So we took a break. Everybody goes home. Aaron's like, I quit. I'm not doing this anymore. Like, what if he fucking charges me? Like, I'm like, okay, let's go. Tomorrow we're going to talk to this dad. Oh no, I'm not fucking. Yeah, we are. Come on. And so, we sit down and we just say, we've coached your babe for 4 years, right? I wanted to explain a little bit about what happened on that bench, because I want you to know how much I adore your kid. There was no indication. Is that what it looked like from the stands? Because I want to ask me anything. I'll tell you everything about that. Oh, guys, man, I'm just sorry. I'm fucking sorry about that. Like, I just, this kid, he doesn't, teachers are so hard on him. He's getting suspended for everything. And I just didn't want you to be doing that to him too, because he loves this game. And like, oh my God, we have a 20-minute like sob fest in that moment, but like when two people get into that standoff with each other, the skill that's missing is emotional regulation. And so many times people don't have it. Not that they don't feel it, they don't have it. And so when we think about our small town, and it doesn't mean to be small town, but it's like, I got two options for a coach, right? So do you have a manager on the team that can assist that? Do you have somebody that you can pull in? I want you to think about that, because those typically, Aaron and I talk about this all the time, my husband, this group of kids is going to stay together. Like, we live in a very small town, right? Yeah. So like, if you end a season really mad at each other, you don't even have to agree with each other, but that capacity to kind of repair becomes the greatest predictor of success.
Jody, that's awesome. And you're such a gift to this game, by the way. And I mean that sincerely. You're such a gift to this game. And we're lucky that we get access, that you take time to share this. Question. And just thanks so much for sharing some of these insights. I know it's going to, everybody that listens is going to walk, whether they're parent, coach, whatever, is going to walk away with a better equipped toolbox to navigate the season, to raise their kids with. And thanks for everything you do.
Thank you for having me again. Ian, Aaron, if there's anything I can do to help, I'm just a phone call away.
Brilliant. Amazing. Thanks, Jody.